Well, good weekend all. Ira Epstein, and here we are with your SPDR ETF stock market wrap-up. Yep, that's the one we're going to do tonight. And this is for the weekend of July 18th, 2025. And the weekend edition means we're going to look at weekly charts, get another idea. Before we do that, now you can see what we've got going there. I'm having fun this summer. You wouldn't know that the stock market is making all-time highs in some of the indices by looking at today. You go, uh-oh, the markets are down. Markets don't have every day up. That's the first thing. We can see how some of these markets, though, are doing. Amazon came to life out of left field. XLU, the utilities, I don't know if I have that up here, that came to life today. I've been waiting for that because all I ever hear is we're short of utilities, and that market is finally coming back. NVDA down just a little bit. Microsoft backed off a little bit. Uber up 9 cents. Another 6-cent gain in AMC. I know people are believing in that. I have my doubts. I have owning a movie theater in the past. I know the business, and I don't like the business that is. That doesn't mean the stock can't go up, by the way. But how many of these big companies, you keep reading, reorganizing, going under, somebody's taking over something else? That's what you have. Before we get going, I just want you to know we're going to cover toast this week. And I'll show you why in just a minute here. All right. So let's take a look at how you're starting the week out. On Monday, you're going to get the conference board, and they're going to come out with their June leading, coincident, and lagging indicators. Remember, the May number wasn't good. It was down 1/10 from April, and they're looking for the June number to be down 0.2 from May, so we'll see what that does. Pay attention to what goes on in Japan in the upper house election there. We'll find out if Japan will have the power for the prime minister to deal on tariffs. Now, I understand Scott Bessent's in Japan at another conference. I don't know if they'll talk about that or not. Baker Hughes, the weekly rig count actually rose. All right, so that's good news. You put up 7 more rigs, but you're still 42 less than you were a year ago. And 1/5 of the S&P companies report this week. You got some big names in IBM, Chipotle, and so on. Netflix, a lesson that you could have a company that comes out with big beat on earnings per share, revenues. It didn't matter. The market decided the PE was a little too rich. Okay, so they'll get it down to a point where they're comfortable. The business model hasn't changed. It's stellar. So let's take a look, if we could, now at the chart action and get a feel for what we've got. For those of you who don't know what Toast does, you know, when you go to a restaurant, they'll come up with this machine, and they can either type in your whole meal, they can give you your check right off the machine. They can tap it and everything's done. They don't have to run to the back to run the cards. That's been going on in other parts of the world for a decade. But in America, this company has come in and it's really doing the best job of all. And that's why this is finally a company that I think we can take a look at. I see an inverted head and shoulder formation, the head, the shoulders. And from here, I can make an argument that this market's going to go from roughly, let's call this $27 to one of the shoulders here at 45. It could be a stock that goes into the 60 area before it's all said and done on that type of formation. We'll see if that happens. The pattern on the chart on a weekly basis isn't bullish just yet, but you're making new highs on the stock. Bullish to me means what you had here, higher lows, higher highs, and that ended when you took out the low right here. And now the market for 3 weeks was playing around, and suddenly today it's lifting back up again. You've stayed over the 18-week average, so basically, since May, this market has been in a bullish mode, and it did come from some pretty low numbers back here. But again, I'm going to repeat, nobody knew about this company. It was well hidden. And it's only now getting all the publicity that it should. It's quite a company. Look for resistance on this run if it keeps going at 49.06, the upper weekly Bollinger Band. And momentum-wise, you're embedded. So I am a friendly camper to this. Netflix pulled down, lost the bullish embedded reading, so you could make an argument that if you don't regain the bullish reading this week, that price and the 18-week average of closes are going to come together. From here, that could be painful. That could be another $65, $70. So we'll see if the market does that. I think that this is going to be one of those opportunities that if I'm right, this week the buyers are going to show up and take the market back. That's been the pattern. You get weakness, the buyers step in right after it and make the move. If that pattern changes, then we all have to get very careful. But I can't imagine that out of the S&P companies reporting, the 20% of the S&P, you're not going to have some friendly surprises. I think we've seen about 83% of the companies do a beat. That's pretty impressive. In Starbucks, a lot of people are coming out and they don't want to do anything. They want the company to prove that the turnaround is working. The weekly chart is still friendly, but into all this resistance. When I teach you, when you make your first run back up to a 200 or a 100-day average after you've been under it for a while, it's a strong resistance point. That's what I think you've got right there. Eli Lilly, still not ready. You need to come out of this, get back over these highs, and prove you can hold a rally. It hasn't been able to do so. Home Depot, back down. It hit the Bollinger Band 2 weeks ago, and I said that's where I thought the pros would come out. This is sideways action. Don't try to make something out of nothing. You get yourself into trouble. Uber, backing off. If it loses the bullish embedded reading, which it hasn't done, I'd be cautious, probably wanting to come out for a while. I hate that they bought into Lucid. I think they should be the service that works with the companies, all of them. And by owning, they start turning off some of the people that own those other car taxi services. Dash, continuing up so far. I'm not worried about that. Still have the bullish embedded reading as I see it. On XLI, the industrial sector, still running, fully embedded. When you get these embedded readings, people think they're overbought. They're not. It's strength adding on strength, adding on strength. A lot of these are momentum trades, and this measures the momentum for you. Now, it does get too high. It eventually runs out of that momentum and corrects. That's what you always got to be careful of, but it generally gives you the time to see that. In XLE, higher lows, higher highs on the energy, a bear market rally in the dollar so far. That's how this looks. But in the futures, it could be that we've bottomed already. Then it won't look like that. I'd be very careful this week. I think the dollar's going to chop around, not a place I'd want to be at this point. In the gold market, as long as you stay over the 18-week average, keep an upside bias, it's just not in play right now. That's what's wrong. It's overbought. I think it needs to correct that overbought. In the copper market, so why aren't the miners running with copper prices up another $9? Well, yeah, $9 today. 9 cents a pound is what it was. And the problem is you can't get the copper to America. You're going to have a 50% tariff. So that's why these have been not the stellar performers. That's the news that I have. Sorry, I went too long on that. But that's what you've got through here. Now remember, I am going to be gone. Not in these videos, so you're going to miss my t-shirts, you're going to miss what I do. But while gone, if you have TradingView and you want to get these indicators in there, it's a pretty simple task. I have 6 powerful indicators that I use here and more that you don't get here that you see, from the swing lines, the slow stochastics, the moving averages, but you get all my moving averages that I use. Of course, the Bollinger Bands, they're so important. Window envelopes, you don't see them here. You see them, how I do them, and if you get my subscriptions, you also get the daily numbers for that. My outside bars, they're so important. An outside bar, be it on a weekly chart or a daily, is really important. And of course, this goes with my charting courses, so if you've taken my courses, this just reinforces everything that you've got. To get it, it's simple. It takes up only 2 slots on your TradingView. You know what that means. You simply go to iraepstein.com, go to Client Resources in the top right of the page. When you give that a click, you'll see the drop-down TradingView. Sign up for it there. We then will, once we get notice you've signed up, we turn it on from our side. You'll get an email. Away you go. I'm Ira Epstein. You have yourself a great trade this week. I'm going to try to get it. Enjoy your weekend. Look at the other videos. Give us a thumbs up. And you'll see me when I get back from my vacation. But I do intend to do these videos. Just my beautiful face won't.